The desert never forgets cruelty. It only buries it under sand and waits. On that scorching afternoon, the land bore witness once again. 5 women hung upside down from wooden posts, their shadows twisting on the cracked earth beneath them. The ropes burned into their ankles. Blood dried in thin lines across their skin. The sun showed no mercy, and neither had the men who left them there. Hours had passed, maybe days. Time had stopped meaning anything. Hunger dulled, pain blurred. Only survival remained. Far beyond the field, a lone rider slowed his horse as the wind shifted. His name was Rowan Hale, a man carved by loss and silence. He had once believed in law, in order, in doing things the right way. Life had beaten that belief out of him piece by piece. He rode now only because stillness hurt more than motion. His horse snorted, refusing to move forward. Rowan followed its gaze and froze. The sight punched the air from his lungs. He dismounted slowly, as if moving too fast might make it real. When he reached the first woman, her lips barely moved. He cut the rope. She collapsed into his arms like a broken branch. He did not hesitate after that. Rope after rope fell, bodies lowered. Breath returned. One of them, the eldest, stared at him through swollen eyes, no gratitude, no relief. Just a quiet, dangerous question. Why? Rowan had no answer that would satisfy either of them. He carried them away anyway. That night, his ranch lights burned for the first time in months. He gave them water, shelter, space. He slept outside. Trust, he knew, was earned through restraint. As dawn came, Rowan understood something heavy had settled into his life. He had crossed a line men like him usually avoided, and the desert was already whispering his name to the wrong ears. Healing is not gentle. It demands patience, silence, and time. The women recovered slowly, flinching at footsteps, watching hands, measuring every word Rowan spoke. He let them. He did not push. The eldest woman's name was Sarah. She spoke last, but when she did, everyone listened. She told him about the man who claimed ownership over their lives. A man whose money bent law like dry wood. Rowan listened without interrupting. He already knew the type. Men who fed on fear and slept peacefully. He will come, Sarah said calmly. Rowan nodded. I know. What surprised her was what followed. And when he does, I won't give you back. The words were not brave. They were final. Over the days, something shifted. The women began helping around the ranch, cooking, cleaning, laughing quietly when they forgot themselves. Rowan worked beside them, never above them. Sarah noticed everything. The way he left weapons outside rooms, the way he turned his back when they changed bandages, the way he never once asked for thanks. At night, the ranch felt alive again. Warm, dangerous in a different way. One evening, Sarah sat beside him as the sun bled into the hills. You're afraid, she said. Rowan exhaled. Yes. Of him? Of failing you. Her silence spoke louder than comfort, and in that quiet, something unfamiliar stirred between them, not desire, but recognition. Two people shaped by survival, standing at the edge of something that could destroy them both. The men came at night. Horses, torches, confidence sharpened by cruelty. Rowan stepped onto the porch with steady hands and a tired heart. Sarah watched from inside, pulse roaring. She had known men like Rowan before, men who tried and died. But Rowan did not shout. He did not threaten. He stood like the land itself. When the sheriff arrived, drawn by evidence already sent ahead, chaos followed. Lies shattered. Chains clinked. The man who owned fear fell screaming into the dust. Sarah felt her knees give way, not from weakness but release. Afterward, Rowan collapsed in the stable. His heart betrayed years of strain. Sarah held him through the terror, speaking life into his chest with fury and faith. You don't get to leave, she whispered. Not after choosing us. He lived, barely. Recovery was slow. But something had changed forever. Love did not arrive gently. It arrived like truth, undeniable and earned. Spring came soft and unexpected. Grass broke through dry soil. Rowan walked again. Slower, wiser. Sarah stood beside him, no longer looking over her shoulder. One evening, he knelt not in weakness, but offering, not ownership, choice. Sarah answered by placing his hands over her future, life growing where despair once lived. The desert watched. This time it remembered hope. Life did not suddenly become gentle just because evil had been dragged away in chains. Peace arrived cautiously, like an animal that had been beaten too many times to trust an open hand. The ranch breathed differently now, not quieter but fuller. Mornings began with shared work, not obligation. Sarah learned the rhythm of the land, the way Rowan read the sky before weather changed, the way he paused before lifting anything heavy, aware now of the limits his body had once ignored. He was strong, but not invincible, and that truth no longer frightened him. It grounded him. At night, Sarah would sit near him, sometimes speaking, sometimes not. Silence had become a language they both understood. It was in that silence she realized something frightening. She was no longer surviving. She was planning. She imagined seasons ahead. A child's footsteps on wooden floors. A future that did not require running. And that terrified her more than chains ever had. Because hope, once allowed, is the hardest thing to lose. Rowan felt it too. He felt it when Sarah laughed without checking who might hear. When she slept deeply without jolting awake. When she touched his arm without hesitation. He had loved once before, long ago, and buried it with his wife beneath a crooked oak. He never thought the ground would open again. Never thought something living could grow there. But it had, and he feared breaking it with the weight of his past. One evening, as the sun bled into the hills, Rowan finally spoke the words he had been swallowing for weeks. "If you stay," he said quietly, "my past will always be part of this place. I can't promise safety from the world, only honesty." Sarah looked at him, steady and unflinching. "I didn't survive to be promised safety," she said. "I survived to choose where I stand." And she stood beside him. That night, when the wind moved through the open windows, they came together not as broken people searching for escape, but as two souls choosing connection with open eyes. There was no urgency, no desperation, only trust. But the land had one more test to offer. News traveled slowly, but consequences traveled fast. The men who once served fear were not all caught. Some lingered, some watched, and one night, fire appeared at the edge of the property. A warning. Rowan knew the language of flames. He did not panic. He prepared. Sarah watched him move with calm precision, and for the first time, she did not feel fear. She felt pride. When dawn came, the fire had died, leaving black scars on the sand, but the ranch still stood. And so did they. The sheriff returned days later with final papers. Names cleared, land secured, freedom written in ink instead of blood. Sarah held the papers in her hands and felt the weight lift. It was over. Truly over. Months passed. The child grew. The seasons turned. The ranch no longer felt like a hiding place, it felt like a home. One morning, Rowan stood at the edge of the field, watching Sarah walk toward him, sunlight catching in her hair, strength in her posture. He realized something then. Redemption is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, through choices made daily, through love that is not demanded but returned. When Sarah reached him, she took his hand. "We made it," she said softly. Rowan nodded. The desert watched again, and this time, it did not whisper pain. It carried their story forward, on the wind, as proof that even the most broken ground can still grow something true.